Welcome to episode 12 of the Dynasty Dad podcast. I'm your host, Michael Royer. You can find me on Twitter at dynasty_dadff. And we have a great guest here. Obviously, he's been a staple of the last couple episodes. John at dynasty_trades. How you doing today, buddy?
Hey, doing well, Mike. Really, really fun to be here. I might throw out there that I'm actually also a dynasty dad, so we got that thing going together. But really been looking forward to this pod, Mike.
Yeah, no, this is an interesting one because we talked about, a couple different ideas of topics here. And the one that came out, these rookies are blowing up. I mean, we talked about this 2020 class for so long, and they have not disappointed. I mean, they have flashed from running backs flashing. The wide receivers are, I mean, every single position, these guys are fitting the bill. I mean, they're better than what we had even anticipated. Early on, we said, hey, COVID's going to be there. It's going to be tough for wide receivers. And you got guys like Lamb and Jefferson that are just exploding through. Quarterbacks, they said they're not going to have enough time to really get ready. Burrow, Herbert, and now Tua's going to get the start. I mean, this is so exciting. I mean, this is a fun time of year, and we wanted to talk to you guys about, some of the trades that are going down with some of these big players. Wanted to talk to you about, if we were redoing the draft today, just John and I, how we would see it and how we would actually draft it out. So I mean, any thoughts on before we dive in? This exercise is going to be fun. I mean, it was super difficult, but what are some takes that you have as far as rookies?
Well, here we are. Right. I mean, through 7 weeks, just like we said, this class was so deep. It is showing up. I mean, I want so many of these guys, even in a redo draft, well into the second round. And what's amazing is these guys can help you compete in year one. And obviously help you build for the future. But some of these guys are already in the top 12 at their position as a rookie. And like you said, I think that we thought it was going to take them a little bit longer with no preseason, but just the natural talent. These guys are just blowing up on the scene. It's so much fun to watch. And it just feels like a few of these other guys are just ready to bust out at any time. So you still got to stay active on the trades. I mean, I'm not dealing many of these guys right now, though. I'm holding, unless it's really obvious value. These are guys that I want to build my dynasty teams on, whether I'm competing or rebuilding right now.
Yeah, I think the biggest take for me for a rebuilding team right now is I'm going to start taking guys that are on that tier of, Chris Godwin, Devontae Adams, some guys that are up there. I might try to be looking and packaging up and trying to get CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson and trying to make some of those kind of moves, because whatever you get on top of them, I feel like these guys, we've been talking about them. They are, they have the draft pedigree. They have the college production. Now they're jumping in here and they have ideal situations where we were afraid with Lamb because of, who was in front of them. And we were afraid with Jefferson because we didn't know how much volume. And I mean, they are better than advertised.
Here we are.
Yeah. Exactly. So now's the time that if you're not in that top 6 of your league, to make some of those transition moves and deal some of those, deal Ezekiel Elliott for Jonathan Taylor in a little bit, start moving yourself back. And we've talked about that a lot on shows before.
Yep,
so
that's the move.
Let's jump right in here. We're sponsored again, like I said, through Thrive. Right now, you guys can choose 10 over and unders for Thrive Fantasy app in their prop contest for this week. $25 to enter, over $3,750 for first place, $15,000 in guarantees. And they've upped the ante a little bit. If you guys use the code DAD when you guys sign up and make a deposit over $20, they will deposit a match of up to $50 now. So last week it was $30. Now they'll give you $50. So if you guys go on there, you put the code DAD, you get another $50. And a lot of you guys have checked it out and seem to really enjoy it. It's just a little bit different. It's like an extra play on fantasy. It's all prop bets.
Entertainment, but you can make some money. You got to take that dad allowance though. Come on.
That's right. Dad's throwing a little bit of money in there. That's more than my kids' allowance by far. So, they got a couple years before they
come on, Dad. Help you out here. Yeah.
All right. So we had a little bit of a contest in the back, or maybe, we just were trying to figure out who didn't want to go 101. And I actually started out with one guy in mind, and I switched it back over. I started digging deeper. And for me, the 101 is still Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's averaging 15.87 fantasy points per game. Number 2 in the NFL now with 505 rushing yards. He's 31 targets over the 6 games. So he's getting about 5 targets a game, 21 receptions, 177 yards. He's the RB8 on the season right now. And the reason that I'm still taking him number 1, I know people say, hey, Mike, but what about Le'Veon Bell? Or, what's going on? He only has 1 touchdown. for me, he has just watching them play the Bills. They were playing four in the
Yeah,
front. They
tore
were
it up.
they were sitting back and just didn't want Patrick Mahomes to beat him. And I still say that we haven't seen the best of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, he is a guy that is in an offense that, like I said, they don't want Mahomes to beat him deep, so they're giving him those runs. They're giving him the dinks and dunks, and he hasn't had that 7-8 reception game, or he hasn't had that 2 touchdown game yet. And I feel like the Le'Veon Bell news has made him affordable again. I'm seeing some trades out there on Dynasty
Right. Me too.
that they were not there before. 2 weeks ago at this time, you could not buy him. Now Le'Veon Bell's there, and it's creating an opportunity. Chris Flipson at Skip Jackson 30 put out a poll 2 days ago. Would you trade Saquon Barkley straight up for Clyde Edwards-Helaire if you were in a contending team? I was shocked. I thought it'd be close to 50-50. 75% of the poll said
There
they're
you
taking
go. Wow.
Edwards-Helaire, and it's a matter of having that production for the season when
Yeah.
you're a contender. But for me, I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to be, if he isn't already, a top 5 dynasty running back. And he's still in that fringe end of the first round, early second round for me when it comes to, startups.
Yeah, no, there you go. I like it. I think that people are worried about Le'Veon Bell and others have been a little bit worried about the goal line work. But just like you said, I mean, he hasn't really had the goal line touchdown. He's still like number 8 overall in PPR with the running back. So he's got the game and he's going to continue to continue to grow there. And Le'Veon Bell's, we just know he's going to be there for a year, but clearly CEH is going to be the guy in KC.
And we had that before. We were worried about Damian Williams, and then people were worried about Marlon Mack with Jonathan Taylor. And we're worried about guys we shouldn't be worried about. Cream rises to the top. Those are the guys that are going to get the carries, and for me, it was real close between the guy that I know you're going to go with and then the guy that I went with. Twitter had it as Burrow 1, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I took Edwards-Helaire 1. You taking Burrow at 2?
Yeah, I'm still sticking with Burrow in a super flex redo here. He really just seems like he's got it all. The one thing he really doesn't have, Mike, so far is the offensive line. And look, I think that we all might be a little bit worried about Cincinnati in general, but this guy comes in and from day one, he looks like a franchise quarterback and is just making things happen, moving the offense, and he's going to be doing that for years. He was like one of the top QBs for a few of the weeks already, and I mean, I saw people winning weeks with Burrow as their quarterback, and just feel like he's got the all-around game. They're going to completely build around him, and so it's just so exciting to watch this guy. And I think that many people had him as the 101 going in to the season, and I'm sticking with it. I've seen everything I needed to solidify that for me.
Yeah, I feel like there's a tier. When we first started this, there's a tier of 4. I feel like there's a tier of 5 guys in that first. And with me, Burrow and Edwards-Helaire, I can see it drafted a little bit based off of team need. The reason I went Edwards-Helaire over Burrow is I feel like there's more quarterbacks available. There's more quarterbacks that are really going to be able to put you into the playoff situation, where the running backs, we all know that they're scarce, and that's the hot toy that we all kind of go after. And yeah, Burrow has the poise to be, I had him as a top 10 dynasty quarterback before he even joined the league. I haven't moved him up too much more because that's a tough, that 1 through 8 range.
Yeah.
I have him at QB9. That 1 through 8 is a tough area to crack through, but he's got the poise. He's got the swagger. He can make the throws. He does not have the offensive line. You're completely right. Like, you take out the Ravens game and his numbers look flashy. I mean, right now he's the QB 25. You take out that game, he's more in that mid-teens, and he's definitely a startable option for you. I took him in the UDPL as the 101, and I've been happy with it because it was a situation where I needed the quarterbacks.
Yeah, for sure.
And another guy that was in that situation for the 101, and the guy that I was screaming about being the 101, for the entire offseason for me, was Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor's who I'm taking here at 3. And just to look at him right now, he's averaging just a shade under 14.5 points per game, and they've been using a backfield there where they're mixing everybody in. You know what I mean? You get some carries in there the whole way across. Jonathan Wilkins, and they're giving the ball to why is his name forgetting me? What do we do?
Wilkins.
Yeah. He's
Wilkins and Hines. Yeah.
And Hines. And they have yet to really hand it completely over to him, but I feel like that's coming. 367 rushing yards, three touchdowns. The crazy part is we didn't think he would be the guy to be catching passes. At 17
Yeah.
targets, 16 receptions. He's right there with Edwards-Helaire when it comes to
Yeah.
reception.
Almost looks like one of his strengths.
And now is the time to buy Jonathan Taylor.
No
Right
question.
now, the final 8 games here, or 9 games, he has the number one strength of schedule. That schedule is chalked full of, some gimmies in there, some opponents where Jonathan Taylor should be able to carve them up. The offensive line, that obviously hasn't been the issue. The last couple of games, he's up over 4.5 yards per carry. Jonathan Taylor is about to explode, and I think a lot of people are seeing that.
I totally agree. Yeah, to me, that was the obvious pick there at 103. And you could debate him even getting taken earlier there. And what I also read was that he's actually faced, I believe, the 5th most stacked boxes in the league. And so he's already got the respect of the opposing defenses. And look, I mean, Indy does need a little bit of time to gel. The new kind of offense under Phillip Rivers, the offensive line still trying to figure things out, and they were missing a couple of guys. I agree with you. He feels like he's about ready to break out at any time.
And that's
So
a
exciting.
fantastic point. I mean, I love that because Clyde Edwards-Helaire comes into the perfect situation with the quarterback still the same. The entire situation is the same offensive scheme. He's just coming in as that final piece of the puzzle. Where Jonathan Taylor's coming in, you're coming in with a new quarterback, trying to make it all gel in there. The wide receiver that they took early with Michael Pittman goes down to injury, and it's just been trying to figure out how that offensive looks. But once they figure that out, and once they get past that hump, he's going to blow up. He's a league winner this year if you can get him. And a buddy of mine from our one Pros versus Joe's league, Curtis Patrick, made a deal, and this is really what's going to kind of stick out here a little bit. He dealt Michael Thomas and Austin Eckler for Jonathan Taylor in a second. Now,
Nice,
so
bold.
That is bold. But a guy like that, he's plugged in over there.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's doing. From making trades with him in that league, I mean, the man is brilliant. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he might be seeing it's time to, get away from Michael Thomas and move on to Jonathan Taylor. It seems a little light to me, but these are the kind of moves people are making. Is they're trying to trade down from these big time players who are, a little bit older in age to get to a guy like Jonathan Taylor, who's 22 years old and is about to explode the second half of the season.
No doubt. Yeah, so let's keep this going. So I got my boy CeeDee Lamb coming in strong here at 104. And
that hurts.
And actually,
are you feeling the same way? I wanted that guy too.
Yeah, no, I really wanted Taylor, but I'm certainly not settling for CeeDee Lamb. I think that I've actually seen quite a bit of discussion about should this guy actually have been considered the 101, knowing what we know now. I mean, we thought this guy was going to blow up. He reminded a lot of people of Nuke and others, but the defenses are struggling to cover this guy. He's got all of the traits. He gets open. He fights for the ball. He can win in contested situations. He's got the speed to break away. He's got it all. This guy has it all. And so, actually, I was debating even CeeDee Lamb versus Jonathan Taylor, and I had to post a Twitter poll just to kind of keep myself honest. And I said, who would you rather have between Taylor and Lamb? And it was about 56% Taylor over Lamb. But I mean, that's how many people would actually take Lamb over Taylor already. And you just look at this guy. I would basically take. There's maybe, what do you think, Mike? Like maybe 5-6 wide receivers you would take over Lamb in Dynasty right now. I mean, it's hard.
I was just debating that. I feel like at the end of the season, whoever finishes better, him or DK, they're going to move into that top 4 or 5 range.
That's where I'm at. Yeah.
I feel like, I looked at it last week. He was on pace for 1,300 yards. If he gets 1,300 yards and 6 to 8 touchdowns, you're hard pressed not saying he's. Can you say it? Can you say the wide receiver one? I mean, can you say?
Yeah, I know he's in the conversation though, right?
But he's in that conversation, and DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, and CeeDee Lamb are almost like, you can't really take Michael Thomas, Devontae Adams, and DeAndre Hopkins and move them completely out of there. But it's almost like a split section, right? You have those young and up and comers who are 21, 22 years old, 23
years younger.
And then you got those 27, 28-year-olds. So depending what your team is, I'd rather have Michael Thomas and CeeDee Lamb right now. But, if you are not contending this year, if you're rebuilding, I have him on, we talked about it last week. I have CeeDee Lamb on all my rebuilding rosters, every single one of them,
Yeah.
because I made it I was talking to you before we jumped on here. If this is 2015, where we really heavily believe in the wide receivers early, he is the 101.
No
No
doubt.
doubt about it. And
Yeah,
I'm
that's
talking
right.
about before we even knew what was going on. That was a situation where he's there. And I feel like maybe as a community, we've overhyped the running backs. We were talking about, if you
Yeah.
did a one quarterback league, he went 106 behind 5 other running backs. And
Yeah,
only
you're
only
right.
2 of those guys are playing well.
Yeah,
The
and
rest of
if
them.
anything, the hype on the running backs has come down to earth a little bit. But what hasn't is, like you just said, some of these first and second year wide receivers are just taking off. The only thing that gives me a little bit of pause with Lamb, if I'm contending, is losing Dak. I mean, we talked about that in the last pod. If you haven't heard that one, go check out Dak to the Future. But I mean, even with the Red Rocket in there, it doesn't matter. I mean, this guy will get open. He's going to get his. Gallup almost just looked like a clear, distant third relative to. I mean, Lamb looks like the top guy. I mean, you could argue Amari Cooper, but it doesn't matter. Lamb is the future wide receiver to own in that offense, no question.
He's the most exciting guy out there. We have one trade sent in from Nate J. Moore, N8 _ Moore. He said he got the offer of, both of them are 3, both teams are 3-2, and he was offered Cortland Sutton, Darius Slayton, and Preston Wilson straight up for CeeDee Lamb. And Twitter has this almost 50-50. For me, I'm not even touching that.
Nope.
I still want CeeDee
No
Lamb,
interest. No.
because
No.
Judy's still the alpha over there. I think
Yeah.
Judy's going to be the alpha in Denver. I mean,
He
it's
will
going to
be.
be an interesting situation. But CeeDee Lamb, this is the kind of trade you make, and you're like, okay, it didn't work too bad this year, but 2-3 years down the road, you're going to be kicking yourself when CeeDee Lamb
Yeah.
is a top 5 to top 8 dynasty asset. And I feel like,
Feels good to say it. Yeah.
It does. I mean, I feel like all those teams I drafted him on, it's exciting. He's doing what I really hope DJ Moore would do this year, and you don't want to overblow everything from that rookie year. And that's why this is so difficult to try to peg these guys down. And the guy I'm taking at 5, Twitter had it number 3. I considered putting him up at number 2. And, I know our boy Jesse would say he's number 1, but Justin Herbert has balled out. He has looked fantastic. He has looked like a top 5 to 10 dynasty quarterback. We talked about it last week, where we're like, before his 4 touchdown performance, we were talking about, is he a top 15? And I mean, he came out there and he lit it up. Yeah. Right now, 1,195 yards, 97 for 141. So he's still throwing it over 65% completion percentage, 9 touchdowns, 3 picks, adds another rushing touchdown because he's got that nice, rushing floor there. And Justin Herbert, we thought was going to be a project quarterback. He looks fantastic. And if I'm on a contending team, and this is a deal that we were talking about, sent in by, where's he at here? I will pull it up here in a second, but he was like, hey, should I trade Dak straight up for Justin Herbert? And I'm like, that's a tough call, because Dak's a top 5 quarterback. I would want a little bit more on top, but I feel like that's the kind of move.
Too.
If you're still, if you're not rebuilding, that's a nice kind of move. If you can get Justin Herbert in a second, because he's an ascending quarterback and he has the numbers where right now he is the QB 7 in points per game.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Yeah, crazy.
Nobody would have expected that. Nobody would have expected that. We were expecting him to come in and have that struggle season, kind of like what we expected with Daniel Jones, and maybe in that QB 14, 15 range, where he has some games where he puts up 30 plus, but then he has some real duds where he's putting up 8 fantasy points for you and you can't start him. But he looks every bit to be that elite quarterback that we're hoping. And if you took him in that 108 to 112 range in your super flex, congratulations.
You look brilliant.
You look
exactly.
Great. Yeah. Now it gets tricky. So that's
it does.
That's that top tier for me, is those 5 guys, and it's changed a little bit. Wait, did I jump the gun there? No, we're good, right? Yeah, we know we're on to 6. So that's the top 5 there. The 6th through 8 becomes a little bit tricky. Who do you have?
All right. At 106, it's Tua time. That's what I've been saying ever since Miami announced that he was going to be the starting quarterback. It's Tua time, baby. And I'm so excited to watch this kid play. I'm sure you are as well. It wasn't that long ago where we could remember it was like this big debate on which NFL team could tank for Tua, right? And everybody wanted this guy. He was already being predicted to be the top pick of the draft. And every time he stepped on the field, it was 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, and he was balling out. Then the injury, right? And so he slid down, and he's been out of sight, out of mind. So the recency bias has kicked in. We talked about it on the pod last week. I still have Tua slightly over Herbert, just because of everything I saw and believe in this kid. And here we are. I mean, Fitz Magic has been just reeling off wins, but despite all that, they're still going to go with Tua. I think they really want to see what they have in him, and have Fitz Magic come in and mentor the kid. And look, they got a couple of first round draft picks next year. They got the Texans first rounder. And so, look, they definitely want to see what they have in Tua, but I think they're going to surround the kid with talent. I love where the Miami organization is going, and you can almost argue that he's in a better situation than those other two quarterbacks. And so, I'm really excited to get Tua here at the 106.
Yeah, the exciting thing is, like you said, how they're handling things. I mean, the only trepidation I had with Burrow is, it's Cincinnati and they have not handled things well. The Chargers, they've been up and down a little bit, but Miami seems to be doing this the right way. I love Fitzmagic, I mean, and he's done a great job. And I know it felt like his team and he was doing
Yeah.
so well. But I felt like Miami probably was leaning towards after the bye all year. I mean, they knew that
Yep.
was when Tua was going to get healthy.
You can see it.
And it's worth an uptick in some guys there. I mean, I know people are really kicking the tires on Gesicki. He's had some up and down games, and Preston Williams, and I think Devontae Parker. I think Tua is just going to make everybody around him better. I've been waiting for him.
I agree.
He's the guy that on all my super flexes, you and I have been very high on.
Oh, yeah.
I drafted him in almost every league, and people are always asking how much for Tua because they're trying to get him at a discount.
Yeah.
And that discount's gone. I mean, he could come in and throw 3-4
Windows
touchdowns,
closed,
and he moved instantly back up into that top 4, top 5. And
I mean, maybe he has a bad game or two right out of the gates, though. If he does, go pick him up. I mean, go start putting some offers out there. This guy is the future, so go get him.
Yeah, and it's an exciting class. I mean, I feel like Tua, Herbert, and Burrow might rival that 2014 class, and they, it could be that type of year where we talked about all the running backs in this class, and sometimes I ended up in a couple of my super flex getting Burrow, Tua at 104, 105, and back to back that I had in that area because I was like, if you guys are going to let those guys slip, I'm going to jump in there because super flex rookie quarterbacks are never cheaper than they are in the rookie draft. You got to move up and get those guys, and they're always at a premium. If he wasn't, I might be taking this guy above him, and I'm glad to take Justin Jefferson at 7. In most drafts, you could get him at 11, 12. Right now, he's the wide receiver 16. I mean, we did not see this coming. We knew the talent was there. We knew he was fantastic at LSU, but let me tell you what we're looking at right now is 28 receptions for 537 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Crazy.
And he's on pace for over 1,400 yards,
Yeah,
and
amazing.
And Adam Thielen is still, sorry, I got a little bit of a cold here. Adam Thielen is still balling out.
Yeah.
They have a lot of negative game script like they did last week, which
That's
is why
right.
Jefferson thrived. And I think everybody thought, well, Minnesota's just going to run the ball, and they've been struggling to keep teams off the board. I mean, they're giving up so many points where they're having to throw the ball. And Cousins hasn't looked good, but he's proven in the past that he can support 2 top 18 wide receivers, and he's doing it again.
And he's doing it again.
And Justin Jefferson, we knew he had that flash. He reminds me a lot of a Keenan Allen. He is a better route runner than what we anticipated. He has the ability to high point. I mean, I'm excited with my Justin Jefferson shares. Again, all those rebuilds, pushing back, accumulating that equity, getting the CeeDee Lambs, getting the Justin Jeffersons. In my 1 quarterback league, I'm only in 1 left. I actually traded back 1 spot because the guy wanted Jerry Jeudy that bad. He gave me Kyler Murray and the 110 for the 109 and a late 21 first. And I took Jefferson. He got Jeudy. I ended up getting Kyler and Jefferson. I mean, that's the kind of move that sets you up for years.
Yeah, love that move. Yeah, so I definitely would have taken Jefferson there too. So applaud the move there. And so where I'm going with the 8th pick is our boy DeAndre Swift. This was really close. I won't reveal who the other guy was choosing because maybe he falls to me at 10. But yeah, Swift, you can just see this guy steadily improving. And wow, in week 7, he's actually one of the top running backs in the league. And it's just like he flipped a switch, and all of a sudden we're seeing some of what we saw in college, and that dynamic guy making people miss, catching balls out of the backfield, just finding ways to win on the field. And so, and you know what's really exciting to think about is, what if Patricia is fired? I hate to say it that way, but what if they actually get a coach that really wants to utilize this guy more like he should?
Yeah.
And Peterson, come on, how much longer is that guy going to be there? On Johnson, no one really believes in anymore. And so I think they were just giving this guy some time, rookie, to work his way through. Now they're seeing it, and so wow, the ceiling on this kid is amazing. It's exciting to think about what this kid could do.
At the Dynasty Refiner, we had him as the RB. Jared used to argue he's the RB1. I used to say Taylor. Swift's the most complete back in this class. If he was in Kansas City, it's a totally different game. I mean, it absolutely is. And
No
if
doubt.
we can get another coach there, which is, I was arguing that he was going to use the heck out of DeAndre Swift because he was fighting for his job, but apparently he doesn't care about his job. He wants to go sign Adrian Peterson. Peterson and Swift split carries. I think Adrian Peterson went for 14 for 38. Swift went 14 for 55 and 2 touchdowns. I mean, give the young electric kid the ball, especially when you're playing for a job. That is my next guy that I got to talk about. I was between these two guys, but I got to take J.K. Dobbins at 9. Give him the darn ball.
Seriously. Yeah.
This is a family-friendly show, so I didn't want to put any expletives in there. But, I mean, let's look at this. So, week 1, 14 fantasy points because he gets 7 touches, scores 2 touchdowns. Week 2, 2 carries for 48 yards, 24 yards a carry.
Yeah.
Then we look at week 3, gets 1 carry for 6 yards. You're like, and that was a touchdown. He had a receiving touchdown in there. Then you're looking at week 4, 5 carries for 16 yards, but he has 2 receptions. And then this past week, 1 carry, or week 5, 1 carry, 34 yards. 1 carry, 34 yards.
Yeah, is he leading the league in yards per carry right now?
Well, he's
up there.
He's at 6.2. You know what I mean? It comes down when you only have 1 carry for 3.2 yards or 3 yards in that one game. But he has 11 receptions on the season for 74 yards. We've said it before. If Mark Ingram goes down, he's in the perfect situation in that RPO offense. And it seems like Baltimore is just content playing just well enough to beat teams right now. You know what I mean? Like, they're not coming up with the crazy plays like they did last year for Lamar. Lamar's sitting back in the pocket, and it's a different kind of offense. But down the stretch here, they're going to need that home run hitter because Mark Ingram looks washed. I mean, Mark Ingram is, running at slightly more than 3 yards per carry, while Dobbins is putting up 6. And you could almost argue Gus Edwards, when I'm watching the game, looks more explosive than Mark Ingram right now. And they're mixing Gus Edwards in there a little bit. And I'm like, just give JK the ball. We want to see it. And I think Baltimore's being smart about it. I mean, they realize what they have.
They are.
And you and I see it, but your less savvy dynasty owner does not. Now's the time that you make a J.K. Dobbins offer and you get it out there because he's going to explode. Just like we said with Jonathan Taylor, just like we said with Swift, when he gets his opportunity, I mean, this guy is going to kill it. And you're not going to be able to buy him. I've said before, in the next 2 years, I feel like he's a top 5 dynasty running back, has that type of ceiling. And right now you could buy him. I feel like teams that are a contender, and I have him on 4 or 5 of my contenders, and I'm not going to ship him, but there are offers coming in every day, and they're like, I'll give you a first and Philip Lindsay. And I'm like, no, that's not going to get it done. But I feel like you kick the tires with those teams that they're in contention. You say, hey, J.K. Dobbins isn't really doing anything for you this year. Why don't I give you, give you David Montgomery in a second, or something like that.
I actually just did pick him up. And actually, we talked about this guy. I'm not as high on him. I actually moved DJ Moore for J.K. Dobbins and what will be an early first. And I was like, I love that move. I needed the future running back. And that's exactly it, Mike. I mean, buy him now. He's going to explode. This guy has the potential to be a top 5 back in the future. That was the guy I was hoping would fall to me in my next spot. So you of course you got him.
Hey,
but
before you
just
get
be
your guy,
patient.
can I add in here? And this is a great thing we can segue off of that. Right now is the time to make those trades for first round picks because everybody feels like they have a shot at contention, especially the leagues that, in a few of my leagues, the 101 through 106 are set by points possible. That way teams don't tank. 7 through 12 are based off of how you do in the playoffs, but 1 through 6 are done by your points possible. And there's a situation where, right now I'm the 6th seed. And if I win this week, I'll stay there. If I lose because of my points possible, I have the 102. Those are the guys to target, that don't realize they're like, I think I can make the playoffs. What happens with that guy is now all of a sudden he loses a key member. Let's say one of his running backs goes down for the year. That guy thinks he has a late first. He gives it to you. Now all of a sudden that becomes a really early first. And those fringe teams, anything can happen here. And those mid firsts, a lot of times teams this time of year, because they're so competitive, treat it as a late first, but it could end up being an early one.
Yeah, that's a savvy move. Definitely, just like we've been talking about, put an offer out a week for every team that you've got, and just keep those trade talks active, and you'll find a way to pull some of these guys that we're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there isn't a league where I don't put out at least one trade per week. And if you're not doing it, you need to start to, because the only way you get good at this trades is either you talk to John or you put the hashtag dynasty trades or not dynasty trades, hashtag smash accept. I'm on some congestion
Smash
medication.
accept,
Okay.
baby. Yeah,
Yeah.
got to
It
sit them
used
out.
to be dynasty trades, but you put those in there and we're going to give you advice. But the only way to start getting your trade philosophy, the way you do trades, is to get out there and do them. I get messages all the time. Hey, Dad, what do I do? Like, how do I start this whole thing with trades? Like, I'm afraid I'm going to get ripped off. I lose. I might make 10 trades in a week, but I know I'm going to win 8 of them. But those other 2 create an opportunity to build up. They create an
Oh yeah,
opportunity
no
where you
doubt.
can move with someone else. They create an opportunity where it's like, okay, that guy's a player. He wants to make moves.
Yeah, no, that I love it. Well, I think I'm rounding out the top 10 here, and this is definitely a smash on this one. I've got Jerry Judy next at the 10 spot, and we've talked about this guy as well. It's just so helpful to see it out in the field. Everything that we thought we were going to get with Judy is showing up, and you already said it, but he's the alpha. This guy is really the wide receiver one in Denver, and he's paired up with Locke right now. That offense looks like they really want to throw the ball, but yeah, he's got all those traits that you look for in a wide receiver, right? Not only we already said he's that alpha, he just wants the ball, but he just runs routes so well, perhaps better than any of these rookie wide receivers, and that says a lot. And so he's just always open, and he's shown his ability to go up and get the ball, beat a lot of more veteran DBs in the league already, and so it's exciting. Look, Denver's kind of had some issues, right, with the injury to Locke and frankly a few other folks on the offense, and so this might actually still be a buying opportunity. I mean, the window is pretty near closing on Judy, but see if you maybe float some offers for this guy. I really can't argue with going Lamb and Jefferson ahead of him, but he's right there in terms of that overall talent, and just love getting him here at the 10 spot in this redo draft.
Yeah, I saw a trade today go down. Adam Thielen straight up for Jerry Judy. If you aren't in clear contention where that you need Adam Thielen, Jerry Judy, that's a slam. That's a smash accept for me.
There
You
you
got
go.
that's
Smash
a
accept that.
slam dunk right there. It gets tricky now, right? I
It
think
does.
Judy's the end of that tier. Now we got
Right.
that top 10, which we talked about, you know, all off season. There was 10 guys that you really wanted, and 2 or 3 of these guys have moved up. This guy that I'm going to take really came out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Josh Robinson right now is the RB7. None of us anticipated that. There was
Amazing.
Leonard Fournette gets cut. Now all of a sudden we're like, it's going to be Devin Ozigbo. Josh Robinson's going to get a couple, they're going to sprinkle him in there. Everybody was saying, hey, go get Chris Thompson. And Josh Robinson is the RB7 with, right now, 362 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. And then here's the crazy thing, 23 receptions. So he leads all rookie running backs and 207 yards and another touchdown. He
Yeah.
is doing what Leonard Fournette did last year, but
Yep.
a little bit more explosive. And
Right.
I think they must have seen something in camp where they were like, Leonard Fournette's expendable. Like
Clearly.
this guy is something. And because he went to the small school, kind of got ignored. And it becomes tricky here, right? Like at the 11, I had it between him and Akers and Gibson. And that's tough because all three of
Yeah.
those guys are good running backs. But Robinson, I have to put him there. I mean, I know the draft pedigree is there, but I keep hearing people say, well, I don't think he's going to be the guy next year. Why not? Right now,
He's really proven himself every time. He's got
yeah.
double-digit PPR points in every game he's played in.
And if you're building a dynasty team or you're building a franchise, what's the last piece of the puzzle? It should be the running
That's
back,
right.
So he's the guy that I think he's in a situation where he's an RB1 now. I've been buying him for 21 or 22 firsts all over the place. I have him at 90% exposure, and I'm fine with that. I am perfectly fine with that because he just goes out every week and does it. I mean, he's, week 1, just kind of trying to figure what things out. He had 10 fantasy points, but after that, week 2, 21, week 3, 30.9, 14.7, 11, 15.3. And you can use him as your flex. Cause let's be honest. I mean, you didn't go into the season thinking he was going to be your guy, but if you buy him for a late 21 first, late 22 first, now you have that flex in there that's going to put up a steady, right now he's averaging almost 15 points a game. I'll take that all day long.
He's a complete back. He catches out of the backfield. He's a 3-down back. And look, I mean, Jacksonville does have bigger needs at running back. And so, yeah, I think people continue to doubt him because he doesn't have the pedigree that went undrafted. But again, if he's getting it done and they can count on him as a complete back, they have bigger needs in the draft. And you could see this guy really becoming a staple there. So love the pick. It's also who I had at 11. So yeah, if we're going to keep this going,
let's round out that first round.
It really is getting super tricky here. I'm actually going to throw one that might surprise you a little bit. Another big time riser that was overlooked a little bit, and that's our boy Claypool. Chase Claypool is completely blown up on the scene. I mean, I have to admit there might be a little bit of recency bias here after watching that 4-touchdown game, and he scored again this week. They're giving him the ball. I mean, I think he actually, just to take a quick shot at you, Mike, I think he actually has more rushing touchdowns than your boy CEH. But I mean, the point is, I mean, they really try to get this guy the ball. Juju, wow, I mean, love the guy, so talented and so young, but Chase Claypool is almost making him look like an afterthought in that offense with big men. And look, I know Deontay Johnson is a baller, and he wasn't there in the blow up game. But what's very clear is Claypool is a talent way beyond what I think a lot of us realized. Have you watched some of these catches, Mike? Highlight reel.
I watched him against the Eagles, and he looks like the real deal. I mean, and they're incorporating him kind of like what San Francisco was doing with Debo, right? He's a much more explosive, but he's a physical wide receiver. I mean, he's able to take bubble screens and carries out of the backfield. And he's the wide receiver 10 right now with 18 points per game.
Isn't that amazing?
I mean, and you were getting him mid-second round. I've seen even late second round because people weren't believing it because it's just another Notre Dame wide receiver. But Big Ben looks for real. Deontay Johnson was getting the targets. And I got a little bit of a trade alert here. I made a big time trade in UDPL2 with Tyler Gunther.
Let's hear it.
I gave him Juju, Gesicki, and a late third for Mark Andrews, and I got him to throw in Travis Fulgham.
Okay.
So for me, it was like Gesicki's just all over the place right now. Juju's been down. I love Mark Andrews, and I have been screaming this on Twitter nonstop, but I love Travis Fulgham.
I've seen him. Yeah, how can you not?
As an Eagles fan, I mean, you're looking at, his first week there was like 3 grabs on 3 targets, for over 60 yards. Then he has that explosion game with over 10 catches on 10 targets, and then this past week he did it again. And a guy that I've been giving up a pair of third rounders for everywhere, because the guy is still young. He looks like he looks the part of me. He's a great route runner. He can high point the ball. And there is nothing there in Philly. And we've been trash talking Carson Wentz, myself included. If you had to guess today, where would you say he falls as where QB 1 through?
Well, I saw the same thing. So, but yeah, I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I guess he's what now? He's the QB 9.
QB 9, right?
Crazy.
If people had to, I mean, people
have written off the guy. Yeah.
Exactly. So Philly's still putting up points. They're still getting it done with, even if it's trash time. And Travis Fulgham is that guy that I'm excited with because he's actually putting up better numbers than Juju over the last 3 weeks. Juju seems like an afterthought. Where are we at on him as a community? I mean, I feel like
It's tough,
I had
really
said
tough.
in the offseason, if he bounces back and puts up a 1,200-yard, 10-touchdown season again, he's back as a top 5 dynasty asset. But now we're looking at, we gave him the excuse last year because it was Duck Hodgins and it was,
Right.
just a bunch of backup quarterbacks. But now he's third in targets on that team. I mean,
He's third in the pecking order there. It's almost obvious. And again, this is just what 5-6 games in Chase Claypool's career.
yeah,
So it's a bad look right now. I think you got to be patient with him. But I can't blame you for kind of making a move there because he still does have a lot of that perceived value, and I think he could be okay. But it is definitely concerning.
yeah. And it's a 1.75 tight end premium. I feel like that
Yeah.
if we're really trying to accent that tight end position, I will never play in a 2 tight end league again. That's the worst thing ever.
Yeah. No thanks.
But 1.75 just gives them that little extra
Yeah.
bump up.
No, and Andrews is clearly a huge asset in that format, no question.
But I mean, we get the first round done, and Cam Akers, who was going top 5, is falling out here
Yep.
completely. Antonio Gibson, who's shown flashes, falls out of there. I mean, you want to do a rapid fire here and see what we have
Let's go
left?
rapid fire. Yeah.
Second round here. I have to take, as much as I want Cam Akers, T. Higgins looks like the alpha that we wanted him to be. He looks like what
He does.
we wanted AJ Green to be. So I'm taking T. Higgins there at 13.
Okay. I'm actually going to surprise you. I have now moved Gibson above Akers. So I'm taking Gibson, which would be the 14th pick here. I mean, I just rattled off. I think the kid can do it all, run inside. He can score at the goal line. We know he can catch passes. We know he can bust a big play. And here's what I'm imagining. A new QB comes into Washington. I saw our boy Ryan McDowell have him. This is a non-superflex redo. Had him at 6th overall, Mike, in a redo draft with DLF.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what convinced me to put him just above Akers.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I absolutely love that. If I mean, Washington right now is allowing JD McKissick to get 6 targets a game in the last couple of games.
They're still working on in Gibson.
They realize what Gibson is. He's a work in progress, but he has flashed at times and he looks good. And another guy on my rebuilding teams, I am not moving. If you can get him, go for it. I guess at this point I have to take Cam Akers.
Gotta go Akers.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like too far. He flashed when he was in college, obviously, had number 1 recruit coming in and all those things, but he's fallen behind in the pecking order here. And the injury that he sustained, he should have sat out longer. I mean, that's out of sight, out of mind. He has the talent to be in the top 10 of this class for sure, but I'll take him there.
Well, and that's the trend for my next pick here, going rapid fire. Jalen Reagor. What? How did I just get him this low? Because of recency bias. Right? He's out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
Go put some offers out for Reagor. I mean, the limited time we saw him, he blew up. I think if we were to do this draft again at the end of the season, Mike, this is going to look like a value here with Reagor. So that's a signal to all you guys out there to go trade for the guy.
And even if you're a contender, I mean, he's a guy that you can pick up for a late first, you know what I mean? And when you're a contender, it doesn't always mean that that late first that you have to use to get a James Conner or a veteran presence. It can be a guy like Reagor where he ends up appreciating in value. And you got a guy who went 108, 109 in this year's draft that you're getting for 112, in next year's draft. So that's a great one. I got to take Henry Ruggs here. I mean, he's shown some sheer explosiveness, and Derek Carr seems to put it together. I think Derek Carr finally got some weapons there. Ruggs looks fantastic. I know in the offseason, everybody wanted to put Edwards above him, but he's really, he looks the part, and I'm excited to see what he can do.
All right. Thou shalt let this guy drop any more. Hashtag dad joke.
Yeah.
Now we're going to go with, Visca Chenault. Yeah, well, I had to work one in. Come on.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Visca Chenault, man, this guy looks like the real deal in Jacksonville. They're working him in all over. He's got the full skill set, even out of the backfield at times. The guy can muscle for the ball. He's got speed. And so excited to watch this kid develop.
For me, I had it right between Chenault and this guy, but I got to take Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah,
I feel
me
like
too.
he is a clone of Debo Samuel, just a little bit more explosive. And I think they knew what they were doing there. They wanted some smash mouth wide receivers who are, aggressive there. And he has looked very good. And I might prefer him over Debo in Dynasty. They're getting really close to me. They really were trying to get Ayuk and Debo behind the line of scrimmage, which is where Jimmy Garoppolo throws his best ball, anyways, within those first like 3 or 4 yards. But
Yeah,
again, what if they get a quarterback? You know what I mean? Like there's just a
sure.
situation
Yeah,
where I'm not a Jimmy G guy. I feel like he's just a game manager. But if they get a guy that can stretch the field, Ayuk, he has those biggest hands in the entire class,
yeah.
the biggest wingspan, and he can get it done. I'm excited to see what he can do.
Also had the biggest hurdle of the year. I mean, that's maybe the rookie play of the year on that run that he had, hurdling the defender. That's crazy athletic play. So yeah, that's who I had to with Ayuk there. I'm actually gonna, as we keep going with rapid fire here, the next guy that I had was actually Michael Pittman, and that was another example of just the injury, and he's kind of fallen down rankings. He was actually taken early second, even late first in some rookie drafts, and I think that he still has the potential to be like the main guy in Indy. I mean, remember when he was playing, looked really good. I am a little bit worried about that injury. There's the reason he's sliding like this, but man, that kid can ball,
Yeah.
and so don't forget about him. I mean, that if you're listening through this rapid fire, these are all potential values.
Yeah, right from where you're saying it, Pittman down. They're all guys that were just like they just haven't gotten their opportunity yet. I mean,
Right.
they still have the talent to do that, but they just really haven't gotten that opportunity. And the guy for me that hasn't gotten that opportunity that I loved in the preseason, and you kind of reminded me of him when we were talking here, but that was Denzel Mims. There's
Yeah,
still no
for
alpha
sure.
wide receiver for the Jets. I
That's right.
mean, there there just isn't a primary target right now. It's Jamison Crowder. Herndon hasn't stepped up. Perriman hasn't stepped up. Barrios is in there from time to time, but there's nothing special there. Once Mims
Yeah.
is people have forgotten about completely. Where I'm seeing him as a toss in on trades right now, and the
Oh, that's beautiful.
kind of talent he has, get him worked in for sure.
Yeah, and when Gage is gone, that kid could definitely
Yeah.
blow up.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
when trades are close like that, like what I'm trying to do is,
toss in player.
if we're
Love it.
close, I'll say, hey man, I'll tell you what, like we're pretty close here, but I'll throw you a third round pick if you throw me Denzel Mims. So they're like, yeah, all right, whatever.
Yeah,
Like you
that's a
try to do
beautiful
those
move.
kind of moves, or I'd be willing to pay a 22-second for him because he was going as a 2020 second, and he has the potential and all the skills to move up.
Yeah, so keeping this going, next guy I had up was Joshua Kelly, and
Yep.
I like this. I mean, we were getting this guy late second in rookie drafts and I mean, I think that he's shown us some flashes, right? That he can run between the tackles, he can catch the ball out of the backfield, he can make people miss. He's actually a bigger guy than the other two guys there with the Chargers, and so like, you can see him as the goal line back. I mean, he's kind of trading off with Jackson right now, but watch out for Kelly. And again, same thing that Mike just said. If he can get this guy as a throw in or some kind of trade up with versus a pick, I would consider doing it. I think that he could actually end up. You can picture this guy being the man at some point, and the Chargers do want to mix in other running backs other than Eckler. That is clearly the case, especially after the injury.
I'm gonna backtrack and go Dak to the future here. Now I'm gonna flip my last pick with Mims to I forgot about Brian Edwards even. I mean,
Yeah,
we were
Edwards.
all gaga over
Oh
Brian
yeah,
Edwards, and now
yep,
he's out of
that's right.
sight, out of mind. I mean, we are so just what have you done for me lately in Dynasty? Sometimes we forget about these guys, and that's why this is a nice exercise to remember that Edwards was flashy where people were considering him over Ruggs, towards the end of the Dynasty rookie draft season, and now he's fallen completely. So, well, let's do one more
Yeah,
each here.
yeah. So the last guy that I'll close with has actually fallen quite a bit, and that's Zach Moss. And Buffalo, I think really the biggest rusher is still Josh Allen, and Singletary has looked okay, but I think we just got to give this guy some time, right? I mean, he was getting drafted into the first round in some rookie drafts for a reason. He does have the skill set. I mean, I think his first game he caught a touchdown. Um, he he looks to be a guy that they like to use to throw the ball to, And we saw a couple of plays where he's breaking some tackles, making some moves. He's got to give the kid some time. He's been banged up, and so this is yet another value that I'm getting here, at, like the very end of this like rapid fire second round. I still believe in the kid.
Love it, love it. There's a couple other guys there. Obviously, two guys from Green Bay. Is AJ Dillon, Jordan Love. The guy I'm going to close it out with, just because people are not big on Carson Wentz right now, is Jalen Hurts. I think if he gets an opportunity, the value is only going to increase. But these are some of those late round flyers in that second round that, if you guys take them, they give you a great opportunity. And we have another trade alert. Believe it or not, I just got this sent to me in our listener league
Great timing.
too. We got a deal that my man Roy G NFL sent Justin Herbert and Jonathan Taylor to at Not Agree Less for Matthew Stafford and Alvin Kamara. What do you think of that one?
Wow,
That's a big boy trade here. Twitter has
that
it
is
at
it's a blockbuster. Yeah,
Twitter has it at 54% Stafford Kamara and 46% Herbert and Taylor. Both those guys are both
yeah,
in competition with me as one of the top teams in that league, but one of them's just trying to get a little bit younger, and I can't
yeah.
fault him for it.
Oh no, I actually think it's a pretty even trade, but I almost just I guess we just did this rookie draft here, but I would stick with Herbert and Taylor in that deal. I think
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. Well, it's been fun. I mean, every time we get on here,
good
I
times.
feel like you and I are very in line and in sync with
Yep,
things. And I was taking your guy, you were taking my guy, but it was a good exercise. And I feel like you guys, as a listener, can take some information from this and like, what should I be doing? Who should I be buying? And right now, if you had to say one guy, your biggest rookie buy out of the entire thing based on his cost right now, who would you say that is?
I actually think it's J.K. Dobbins.
I was just gonna say it, man. I'm not even
So
joking.
yeah, I
It,
think it's still J.K. Dobbins right now.
yeah, I
Biggest
feel
value right now.
I'm gonna go out here after we're done and just make some offers because I feel like I can get him for
Yeah,
like James Conner in a second. You know what I mean? Like for a
it
contending
was.
team.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was Tua, but after the news, it's not anymore.
No, you
I
can't
think
afford
it's
him now.
J.K. Dobbins. Yeah,
Yeah, we were talking about that a couple weeks ago where we were all trying to buy Tua, and I the trickiest part is trying to find the biggest sell on this group because I don't really have one. Like I'm not looking at anybody on this list and be like, I got to move that guy off my team.
I'm
There
with you.
it's a tricky time, but I love this rookie class. We talked about it. Next year's rookie class is going to be, it's going to be very top heavy, not quite as deep as this one, but that's another class that we're excited here for. So
That's
buy
another
these,
pod for that one.
yep, buy these 2020 rookies, buy those 2021 rookie drafts, and again,
Yes, sir.
tune in next week. Obviously, we want you guys to go out there and just enjoy the process. Boom.